very softly onto the paper underneath as the paper would pass by. And
the fluffy is the leather.
the fluffing is the fabric. You can feel the fabric technique on this. I have many borders I'll show you that have this fluffing technique because it was extremely popular. Again, because it imitated fabric, and that's something that the consumer wanted on their wall because they wanted to imitate again what their masters had in the manor houses. They had real fabrics. This is a little bit later dado border. This is, I guess it's out of sequence, but this is again a block printed border or under a chair rail, and this is this is the late neoclassic period, going into the Empire period. You can see a little bit heavier work on it. The Rococo period, earlier in the late 18th century, early 19th century, was much more refined. And this gets a little bit heavier in technique, but still very realistic, and again, simulating carved wood. These are examples of, these are Rococo borders from the 18th century. This is an illustration out of Chippendale's Cabinetmaker's Director. And these are borders that were created by the designers, by someone like Thomas Chippendale, for furniture, for carved dados on rooms, and also the Oriental influence was so important. He also designed from the Oriental handbooks that were brought over from Asia, Oriental borders for this, also for cabinet work or for chair rail or dado work. These also were very important designs, and he included them in his illustrations as well. This is a French example of how wallpaper was made. This designer, this is a very famous French designer in the 18th century. Revillon was his name. And he was from a long line of, his whole family was into making wallpapers in the 18th century. And their work was so refined, there was so much work into it. He wanted to show the people that were buying his product how much work actually went into this. So he made these illustrations, going to the point of showing all the tools that were used to make his product. And there was a series of 6 pages of illustrations showing the process of making wallpapers. I'm interested to know how many people actually read that. This is a great example of a French block print that was imported into America in the 18th century. This dates from about 1765 to 1775, and this is again a block print. This is something that was taken from a wall in America that was taken down from. I got this from a document house in New York, and this was taken from an actual 18th century home that was destroyed. Nice to have a sample that large. This is French. And again, it was one of the French wall coverings were more popular than the British wall coverings because they had more style to the American consumer and also more color. I like this example very much because here in America in the 18th century, there were wallpaper stainers here in America in the mid-18th century, even back to about 1745 to 1760, way before the Revolution. And there was an advertisement in a Philadelphia newspaper by a retailer that also printed some wallpapers. And he advertised the fact that his wallpapers were just as beautiful as the European papers and just as useful as the European papers. As a matter of fact, in his advertisement, this particular paper was designed because there were many factors many environmental factors in the 18th century that we don't deal with today, such as insects and that kind of thing. So this paper was manufactured, and he had said that he has papers that hide insect stains on the walls. Because when it was hot, you opened your windows, there were no screening or anything like that. pests, so anything, any kind of insects flew in and out of the house quite readily. And so this paper was actually, this kind of paper was actually designed, there was just not the only one, there were many papers that were designed to hide insect stains on your walls. So again, this was block printed paper, and it was not only decorative, it was also a useful decorative item on your walls.
So you said not all designs would have been advertised to serve
Oh, no.
that purpose?
No.
Why not?
Well, because, depending on how wealthy this guy was that sold papers, if he had enough room in the newspaper, he would have advertised more than just one specific kind of paper. In fact, in the 18th century, papers were made for specific rooms. This would have probably been made for a bedroom. Here, I'll show you another paper that was specifically made. I had an accident here this morning that a paper came off of a board.
Oh,
But this is an 18th century paper. This paper would have been made specifically for hallways and stairways. Again, this is a great illustration of a paper that is a faux marble, along with the cartouche in the center is, of course, simulating carved wood. And this is a very, very probable paper that would have been advertised and also would have been utilized in a stairway or hallway, in a townhome or in a manor house. And there were many, many designs made like this. They look like marble blocks or stone. Very popular type of design.
So were there certain designs that would have been advertised as, or
Oh.
just what are those designs?
Well, I'll show you as I'm going along here. Now, I'm going to show you. I might be taking a little bit too long for you guys. I'm sorry.
You're still doing that.
In the late 18th century, a new technique was established, steel engraving. And steel engraving enabled the designer to come up with a type of artwork that was never seen before. And of course, this was France that established this technique, the artisans of France. And these were called toile designs. And there was an area of France along the German border in which these were very, very well popularized. And they were called toile de Jouy. Jouy was a little town in France on the German border. And there were many, many types of designs that were made. This was one, this is called Adam and Eve. And a lot of them were biblical, some were historical kind of designs, some were very pastoral kind of designs. Any design that kind of told a story. And these allegorical kind of designs became very important and very popular. And this one, this is the design that's engraved on linen fabric. And this is called the Four Seasons. This is a very, very popular fabric. In fact, this is being reproduced by fabric companies today. French companies and also English companies that make very high-end fabrics. They're still using this design. In fact, we have it in a couple of our wallpaper books. And then there were many, many different examples of the Four Seasons that were made as well. And this is, again, still popular today.
So how was the steel engraving technique used?
The steel engraving was done on a flat copper plate.
Were they bigger plates though than the...
Pardon?
Were they bigger plates?
Oh, yes.
than what-
Yes, as you can
yeah.
see, this is a very large plate. But this is late 18th century, 1785, 1790. Again, just the beginning, well, not even the beginning of the Industrial Revolution, but a lot of advances were being made in the printing technique at this point. And here's another design. This is a very historic design. This is an engraving of the 18th century techniques of making fabrics and printing fabrics. All the different stages of fabric making is on this particular illustration.
What kind of room would that